Imagine a plane losing its roof at 24,000 feet in the air. Horrific, isn't it? It happened in real life, with real people going through the whole ordeal. What caused the accident and what happened next? April 28, 1988 was the fateful day that the Aloha Airlines Flight 243 figured in a catastrophic accident that shook the world. As 5 cabin crew and 89 passengers boarded the plane at the Hilo International Airport on the way to Honolulu, they had no clue what was coming to them. The pilot, First Officer Madeline Lynn Tompkins, made the routine takeoff at 1:25 p.m. and climbed in visual conditions to 24,000 feet, reaching that altitude at around 1:48 p.m. Everything seemed normal, and the passengers were sitting comfortably until the most unexpected thing happened. At 24,000 feet, a portion of the fuselage tore loose and caused an explosive decompression of the aircraft. There was a loud whooshing sound and the flight deck door blew away, terrifying everybody on board. When Aircraft Commander Captain Robert Schornsteimer turned around, he saw a blue sky where there were haunting screams, then silence. Struggling to keep his calm for the worst thing imaginable, the captain took the controls, deployed the speed brakes, and began an immediate descent at 322 to 334 miles per hour, with a rate of descent as high as 4,100 feet per minute. They endured 13 minutes of horror as the hint of bloodshed filled the air. As the passengers did their best to hang on to dear life, one of the flight attendants, Clarabelle Lansing, got blown out of the plane, never to be seen again. Another flight attendant, Sato Tomita, lay unconscious and bloodied with her head split open. When her fellow flight attendant Michelle Honda saw her at the most exposed part of the jet, she thought she was dead. As she kept her breathing shallow to refrain from passing out, Honda remembered that she still had a job to do. Honda crawled up the aisle rung by rung, reminding the passengers to put on life vests. To help her move, the passengers helped grab her inch by inch to the others that needed help. One mother asked her to help her son, who was across the aisle. His eyes were searching in fear. The cabin was taking more extensive damage by the second. Some of the oxygen masks that dropped weren't working. 2 large ceiling panels had come loose and landed on the passengers' heads. Honda mustered enough strength to heave them into the empty rows at the back of the plane. As the plane continued to be under intense strain, the floor had buckled, obscuring the view of the cockpit. In the flight deck, the 2 pilots battled with the controls of the beaten jet while flying blind. The island of Maui loomed dead as they geared up to make an immediate emergency landing. Descending towards the Kahului airport, the number 1 engine gave up due to the debris that damaged it. A bloodied Honda, whose shoes had been blown off and stockings shredded, crawled next to Sato Tomita, preparing for the worst while clinging to a last shred of hope that they would all survive. The plane kissed the runway at 1:50 p.m., a mere 10 minutes after everybody's worst nightmare had begun. When they eventually stopped, Honda shouted, "We made it! We made it!" It was a miracle landing, but the scene on the ground was nonetheless devastating. Passengers seated near the hole were bloodied after being battered and cut by flying debris. 65 people were injured, including 8 with serious injuries. At the time, the small island of Maui was not prepared for such a grave emergency. There were only 2 ambulances, and none were at the scene. The injured were taken to the hospital in tour vans. Ultimately, there was only 1 fatality, and it was Lansing, the flight attendant, that got blown off. During the investigation, it was discovered that the plane had been poorly maintained, with over 89,690 flight cycles on short flights, twice the number of cycles it was designed for. It was an accident waiting to